Hi, my name is Sarah Morant. My pen name is SG Morant. And today I'm going to be doing a little bit different of a video than my usual, going through the Harvard Classics collection and other classical literature. Fall is in the air. It's September already, which is really hard to believe, and it's starting to cool down where I live, and I am feeling that fall is quickly approaching. And with fall, I think it comes with some of the best literature out there that just makes me think of fall, gets me in the fall mood, and it's one of my favorite times of year. And there's definitely some books that I associate specifically with the season of fall and that I feel like I only read during the fall, and ones that every fall I go back to and I want to reread. And because fall is only like September, October, November, that's kind of a limited amount of time to start reading new books, so I thought I would try to get on it a little earlier in the season in case any of these books are interesting for anybody else to pick up to read during the fall. A lot of these books are classical literature, almost all of them are really, and just some of my favorite books of all time, particularly to read during the fall, but definitely some of my favorite types of literature gravitates during this time of year. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with one that's not quite a novel, it's more of a novella, and that of course would be Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. I have a collection here, which is why it's so massive. I actually have not gotten the chance to read any of the books in this particular collection. I have read them separately in novels, but I've never owned any Robert Louis Stevenson, so this is my first delve into that, which I'm really excited about. Treasure Island is one of my all-time favorites of classical literature, one of the first books that actually got me interested in classical literature and made me think it was interesting. And Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was one of the first classical literature books, short stories, novellas type thing that I had to read in high school, and it was one of the ones that I actually really enjoyed reading, even though a lot of the ones that I had to read in school were not as enjoyable in my opinion, but Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde definitely was. And because it's so short, it's a great quick read. You can read it in like one sitting, 2 sittings a week, along those lines, and it's just a really very exciting, energetic story about this man grappling human nature and this like mad scientist, and just really fits into the more spooky, gloomy aspect of fall, and just more of a darker read, so I feel like it fits this darker season, this as the weather's cooling down and things like that a little better. And just a great read, nice and short, so definitely on my list of recommendations for fall reads. And while I'm hefting the really heavy books, we'll go on to this one next. This is probably the thickest book I have in my entire collection of books, and this is the complete works of Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And I've read quite a bit in here. And then I think I've read all of the novels at this point, separately, usually. Under the Baskervilles is one of my all-time favorites, so much so that I loosely inspired certain aspects of one of my books off of Hound of the Baskervilles, and I absolutely love that one. The Sign of the Four is another one of my favorites, and A Study in Scarlet, of course. All of the novels are fantastic, but there's also the whole like largely overlooked resource of the short stories of Sherlock Holmes, and there's such a wide selection of those, and they can be anywhere from like 5 to 15 to 20 pages, so they're pretty short and they make for a great quick read. And I even in the past have kind of made it a habit, especially this time of year, to sit down and read like one of the short stories every night before bed, just as kind of a fun little mini mystery that I get to read before bed. I love mysteries, and so this is one of the best purchases I made, I think. I'm pretty sure I got this whole book for like 20 bucks at Barnes and Noble on sale, and I love it, even though I kind of need to like use a table to read it because it's so huge and the writing is very small. But definitely would recommend Sherlock Holmes any time of year. This is great. I am a Sherlock Holmes person. I read Agatha Christie and others, but I always go back to Sherlock Holmes. It's my absolute favorite. The setting, the characters, the writing style, it all just adds up to make the perfect mystery, in my opinion. Along the topic of mysteries, I can't help but plug my own books. I have written 2 mysteries so far, and in October, the 3rd mystery in this series will be released. And it's a set of mysteries set in the 1940s in Chicago. It follows Abigail Sinclair, a young medical student who is assigned to work with a detective as her internship. And the detective, Carlisle, is known for his more unorthodox methods. And so they struggle to work together and solve really interesting mysteries set in a landscape of war and just like very colorful characters, things like that. I love mysteries. I wanted to incorporate that in my own writing, so I wrote this series. They're nice and short, which a lot of my books are thicker. I've had a lot of people say they want shorter books, they want mysteries, so I kind of tried to accommodate them in this. And it's mass market paperback size, which I feel like is the perfect size for mysteries, and it's nice, comfortable size to hold in your hands, which I love. I'm currently reading it. I have a bad habit of like not reading my books when they're in book form because I spend so much time reading them as I'm writing them and editing and all of that I usually wait a little while after they're published to actually read it in book form. But I've finally gone around reading this one, and it's one of my favorites that I've written. I love this series. I love mysteries, and it has a bit of a more fall atmosphere to it. So any mysteries really are great for the fall. I think this is the time of year to cuddle up with a good mystery while it's like raining outside and all gloomy, and I love reading mysteries this time of year. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, all of these are available on Amazon. They're called the Carlisle Mysteries series. Book 1 is A Mile of Secrets. And if you want to show any support by checking it out, I would be very happy about that. Okay, now that shameless plug is over, back to the rest of the books that I have chosen for this video. Next one is also a bit of a shorter read, Macbeth by Shakespeare. Macbeth is one of my favorite Shakespeare plays out there, probably second only to Hamlet. And the reason I picked Macbeth for this, although all Shakespeare tragedies, I should say, are kind of more gloomy and melancholy, Macbeth, I feel like, perfectly encapsulates this time of year. And it's in a way a mystery. It's like one of those reverse mysteries where you know who the murderer is from the beginning, but you also are like waiting to see if they get caught and like how they hide it and things like that. That's kind of some of what's going on with Macbeth. And then obviously there's the aspect of the shrews and things like that that are more spooky, that make it more of a fall read, I think. I'm not a huge, I don't celebrate really Halloween, but I do like to watch those type of movies sometimes. Young Frankenstein is one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. It's hilarious. And then also reading some of the more spookier books. Definitely, I feel like this is the best time of year to do it. And so Macbeth, definitely recommend this. One of my favorite Shakespeare's and a great fall read. The next book I have is another collection of short stories, novellas, poems. I just have a collection of Edgar Allan Poe. This includes a lot of his more famous works, almost all of them that I can tell. I like Edgar Allan Poe a lot. I like The Raven, the poem. I've read some of his poetry, but I have not actually read that many of his short stories. I've read The Telltale Heart and The Red Mask. Is that it? But I'm starting to get into reading some more of them very slowly, reading a few at a time, and I really like his kind of more horror aspect ones. Some of his adventure stories, I think he had one called The Tempest, I think that's what it was called. Not as big of a fan of those, but I definitely like his writing style, and I think that these are really great books to read in the fall and winter months. And it's nice, it's really nice, I think, to have collections of short stories and things, because then you can kind of just read one here, set it aside, come back to it, and it's a nice break of the longer novels that I tend to gravitate towards. And so I really appreciate that, and I love his poetry. It's really great, and I look forward to reading the rest of this. And I'm glad that I was able to get a Penguin edition, because I love the Penguin books. The next book I have is The Picture of Dorian Gray. This, I was like very pleasantly surprised by this book. I didn't really know what to expect from it. I knew it was kind of creepy, but it also has all these aspects of like class structure and society, and what is proper in society versus what is not. And it was such a well-written book, and I didn't really know what to expect from it, like I said. And I didn't really anticipate how suspenseful and kind of creepy it would end up being. I was on the edge of my seat. I think the first time I read this, I listened to the audiobook, and I think I listened to it in one sitting, and it's like a 6 or 7 hour audiobook, so that's a great use of my time, I guess. I was at work or something, so I was doing other things, but I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. And reading it, it's the same experience, if not more so. And it's also a great reread, even if you have not, even if you've already read it, like, and gotten the surprises. Like, I knew what it was vaguely about. I knew that there was, like, a portrait, and that he stayed young, but the portrait aged and all of that. But the amount of detail that it went into, I was not expecting. Picture of Dorian Gray is a great fall read. I really love it. It's really good. The next fall read I have is The Complete Fiction of H.P. Lovecraft. This is a little more controversial, I guess. H.P. Lovecraft was incredibly problematic. His writing is, it can be pretty racist. He wrote about things he was afraid of, and he was afraid of a lot of things. There's this YouTube channel called Overly Sarcastic Productions. I've listened to some of their stuff. They talk about classical literature sometimes, and a whole episode about H.P. Lovecraft was hilarious, and I think it handled the issue very well. So if you're interested in that, check that video out. It was very good. But H.P. Lovecraft, I think the horror that he writes is so immersive and so, like, horrifying, and it's cosmic horror. It's like this great thing that you can't even fathom, and it just pulls you in. And they're such great short stories. They're very well written. They're very like, I'm not a big horror person. I say that even though I read horror sometimes, but, like, I don't like Stephen King, that type of horror. I like thriller type stuff like Jurassic Park and things like that. But H.P. Lovecraft was, like, just creepy enough that I was engaged and I was on the edge of my seat the whole time, but not, like, so disturbing that I couldn't get it out of my head, if that makes sense at all. I really liked it. I got this book that's a collection that's, like, massive, and I was not anticipating it to be this big, but he definitely was a problematic author, and I tried to separate it in my mind. There's certain things that I'm reading it and I'm like, oh, this is not good that he's writing like this, but also I can appreciate that he was a good writer, and the stories were very interesting, and they paved the way for a lot of future fiction in this genre. The last book I have on my list is one of my all-time favorite books, and that is Dracula by Bram Stoker. I went into this thinking, you know, I know about Dracula, right? Everybody knows about Dracula. I know what it's about. I did not know what it was about. I didn't know anything about Thomas Harker. I didn't know anything about Mina. I didn't know about any of the characters in this book. Van Helsing is so different from the media portrayals of Van Helsing. It's crazy. But reading it, one thing that I absolutely did not expect to find was the fact that it's told in the form of letters and journal entries. And so it's a very interesting way to tell a story, and I really enjoyed it. It's very unique. And I annotated this copy. I read a copy and then I annotated, I reread it and annotated it. And I had quite a few annotations. I really love this book so much, and I'm probably going to reread it again pretty soon, because I feel like I almost have to read it every year. It's so good. And the story is so much more than the movies of Dracula portray. It really is a fight against good versus evil, and a story of friendship and relationships, and it's an amazing book, and I would recommend everybody to read it. It's edge of your seat action the whole time. There's a cowboy who's awesome, who's my favorite character, Quincy Morris for the win. I love him, and just a really great book. Very well written. Absolutely love it. It's no surprise to me why it's such a classic. And the Signature Classics edition of it is just absolutely beautiful. I love this so much. Definitely a great edition. The paper is nice and thick on this one, which I appreciate a lot, and there's plenty of room in the margins for notes, which I definitely had in here as I was annotating it. Those are my fall recommendation books. If you like videos like this, subscribe and like this video, and leave a comment about any books that I might have missed that you always gravitate towards in the fall. Any books that you would consider to be essential fall reads. Until next time.